What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another KBO Collections Hobby Drive. Got a cold Tuesday morning here. Down below the freezing point, down in the 20s this morning. And I know some people might say, well, the 20s isn't really that cold because, you know, you can go negative and all that, right? Yeah, that's true, but we're only in like November. We're only kind of like in the middle to the third week of November type time, so you know, it's pretty cool, especially considering that a couple of days ago it did get as high as about mid 60s, and so you know, so definitely cooled off. But the pollution has gone down, which is absolutely fantastic, because you can breathe again. However, the only problem with that is now I'm kind of a little bit, I don't know, a little bit sick. Like I've got a bit of a stuffy nose and stuff. And I guess, you know, it's the change in the weather. It's the pollution. Like pre-pollution, a couple days ago, there was no problem. And then the day that the pollution hit, I started feeling it a bit. And then the day after, it was even worse. And it's just gotten all up in my nose, right? For anybody that's ever been in Korea, depending on when the last time it was that you've been in Korea, you might remember the pollution being absolutely freaking terrible here. It's bad. So anyway, they don't want people to know that though. makes them look bad. It's like you're a first world country, but you're extremely polluted. Your air pollution, your air quality is absolutely terrible. And they like to blame it on other countries as well. They blame it all on China. Not saying that China is not to blame, but if you look at actual scientific reports, half of it comes from here as well. So, you know, so anyway, it is what it is. That's my little thing on pollution and stuff today. So anyway, so the actual thing that I wanted to talk about today was something that, you know, it's just a kind of random thought that came to mind when I was thinking about some things that I could talk about or something that I could say on the channel. And a random thought that came to my mind was, what if you couldn't collect sports cards anymore? Like you couldn't collect anything sports related anymore. Like you couldn't collect sports cards, you couldn't collect and from any sport, you couldn't collect, you know, like sport, like athlete autographs, you couldn't collect anything like that, right? But you could still collect, but you could only collect one single thing, right? It had to be very specific, one single thing. So you couldn't collect anything sports related, but you could only collect one single type of item. What would it be? Now, the reason why I pose this question is, you know, not because really it's going to happen to most people, but it's just one of those things that's kind of fun to think about. So, because here's the thing, like, you have to think and you have to kind of narrow down what would interest me, because most collectors are kind of, I think once you have that collecting bug, you kind of have that collecting bug for life, and it usually starts early in life, I believe. Like, for example, my collecting, I believe, came from my mom's collecting. You know, my mom used to love collecting, food tins, like cookie tins or flour tins or just different things, like different kinds of, tins. She used to love collecting them, putting them up, you know, on display and stuff like that. And I believe that's where a lot of my collecting habits came from, was like her doing that and seeing her joy from it. And, you know, and also her encouraging me, like, oh, do you like this? Do you like that? You know, different things. So I believe that kind of got me into the collecting thing. So now, granted, I was out of it for many years, but at the same time, it was something that I could always remember being fond of. And when I got back in, it was very easy to get back in. Like, it wasn't, you know, it's like, okay, I've done this before, let's do it. So it wasn't something new. So, back to the question, if you could only collect one type of item, non-sports related, what would it be? So, I'll go ahead and say what it is that I would collect, right? So I got to thinking about it. I'm like, what could I collect? What would I like to collect? And then I got to thinking about things that meant a lot to me growing up. And I was like, I really, really loved music. And I still love music. Listen to music all the time. But like when I say I really loved music, like I was always listening to music. I even played music for a while. Like, I played bass guitar a bit. I played drums a bit and stuff like that. I loved music. It was a big part of me growing up and being a teen and all of that, and into my university years. So I really love music. So I'm like, I think it would be cool to collect something music related. Now, I have to narrow that down, right? So I said I can only collect one type of item, right? So if I'm going to narrow that down, what am I going to do? Well, I like photos. I like photography. So you know what? Music photos. Okay? So now I've got music photos that I'm going to collect, right? But I want it to be more than just photos. So I want them to be autographed. So signed music photos, signed photos of musicians. But I'm going to take it even one step further. And 5x7 signed photos. The reason for 5x7 is because 5x7 gives you a little bit more room in terms of signing wise. However, it's smaller and easier to put away than say an 8x10 or something like that. So it gives you a bit more than say a 4x6 in terms of like space for signatures and things. But at the same time, it takes up less room than an 8x10. And at the same time, you can also mat and frame 5x7s very easily into like an 8x10 type size frame, and they look great. So, not saying that's what I would do, but I definitely would display some of them. So yeah. So if I could only collect one type of item for the rest of my life, and it couldn't be anything related to sports, it would be signed photographs of musicians in 5x7 size. So that's just kind of my fun little thought for the day. Like, what would you collect? Like, what if you couldn't collect sports things? And I know somebody's going to say it. I know somebody's going to say it. They're going to say, well, what about like some musicians that might have been like an athlete as well? So you can't collect. No, I'm talking about, I'm talking about musicians. If they happen to be an athlete in a past life, so be it. You can still collect it because they're known as a musician. And I know other people be like, well, what about like, can't I just get around with that? Because I heard that, Tim McCarver sang in church once, so I can collect his stuff again. No. That's not what I'm talking about. You all get the point. Don't try to be all tricky on me here. So anyway, so that's kind of what I would collect. If I had to stop collecting anything sports related and wanted to continue collecting. So, anyway, it would be interesting to hear what all of you have to say. Like, what are some things that you would collect if you couldn't collect sports cards anymore and you could only collect one thing, one type of item? So what would it be? So anyway, that's all I have for today. So thanks for watching. Please leave a like, comment, subscribe, and see you next time. Peace.